And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Alix Steel, taking you to that closing bell, a global simulcast. It starts now. Just meeting in today for Scarlet Fu, Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec in the radio booth. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms here on a phenomenal day for markets. I should really say a phenomenal week for markets here. Carol, we thought the rally was over. We got a reminder today and on Wednesday, it's still alive and well.
You know, I was just playing around with my Bloomberg and just looking at for the week overall. You're talking about, what, 3% gains in the S&P and the NASDAQ 100 this week. And the names that you guys always like to point out, Romaine, you in particular, those small caps up about 4% for the week overall. So, wow, that's pretty impressive. That's definitely a much more bullish trade that we've seen in a while.
I'm impressed, Carol.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, not impressed. For the week, up more than 10%. We're actually above $104,000 per Bitcoin.
Wow.
Party hats, confetti.
Everyone's partying. Everyone's buying.
I wanted to bring up what's happening actually with the equal weight index because Alex was just mentioning this in the last segment, but it's actually up 4% for the week. So this is its best week since the election. So even though obviously we saw Mag 7 kind of leading the way today, you still had other corners in the market broadening out.
And here's my question. So I was looking at Fastenal earnings that came out, right?
Oh, yeah.
They weren't great. And the stock responded in kind. And then all of a sudden by like 10 a.m. it bottomed and then it ends closing up by 2%. Is that it could have been worse, or did they actually say something materially on their call?
Well, it's kind of interesting, too, because we were talking about big tech and all this stuff today. But like I said, on a weekly basis, it's materials and energies and all that companies, the outperformance of the Russell relative to the S&P on a weekly basis. Of course, we've been here before, and we've talked about how this was sort of the turning point for small caps. And of course, you know, here we are back at square one. Anyway, we do get the closing bells here in New York with the clapping and cheering on this Friday afternoon. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up more than 300 points, or roughly about 0.8%, and on a weekly basis up 4%. The S&P up 1% on the day and roughly about 3% on the week. The NASDAQ Composite, and I should point out the S&P just closing shy of that 6,000 mark. The NASDAQ Composite up about 291 points, or 1.5%. And take a look at the Russell 2000, only up 0.4%, but it did, on a weekly basis, outperform the S&P.
All right, back to the S&P, or staying with the S&P, I should say.
Yeah, because I just mentioned it.
She was totally listening.
Oh, man, it's Friday. All right, looking at what Romaine just mentioned, the S&P 500, 340 names to the upside, guys, 159 to the downside.
And guys, all of the top three sectors leading, with you're looking at that IMAC function, are the ones that house the Magnificent Seven. So discretionary, technology, communication services leading the way higher. But on a weekly basis, energy, financials, and materials were the best sectors of the week.
All right, Intel, your number one gainer. Check it out, guys. In the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, up pretty much closing just off its best levels of the session. Still a 9.2% gain. This is after a report on a technology news site that said the chipmaker is an acquisition target. We kind of know that. Semi-accurate. A tech-focused newsletter said it had read an email about a company trying to acquire Intel whole, and that the mystery company has the resources to pull it off. The report did not name the firm potentially interested in buying Intel, but we've been, you know, this is kind of, I think, been out there. What do you want to say?
I just like the name of the news service, semi-accurate. Anyway.
By
the way, can we just like swap Intel for TikTok or something? Can that be done?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Stand by.
I'm a solutions guy.
Stay tuned, as the president-elect said.
Ain't over yet. All right, let's go to Tesla, also a top gainer. We saw this name among the top gainers, I should say, in the NASDAQ 100 today, up about 4% off its highs. It really was about a mega cap move that we saw in a big way in today's session. Tesla, a standout today. Maybe it has to do with the upcoming inauguration, but I will say this has just been a trend that we've seen since the election. Tesla shares, guys, are up around 74% since the election, despite still being down about 9% since its December 17th high, and just another kind of standout day for that company. And then this one I heard you, Alex, talk about, I think either on TV or on radio earlier. Schlumberger up about 7% in today's session. It's the world's largest oil services provider, gaining after the company said it plans to boost total returns to shareholders 21% this year to at least $4 billion as it gears up for rising energy demand from AI.
Yeah. They're going to say SLB. I'm saying it. It's SLB, so then they can't email me and tell me.
Wait.
Send all
They've
complaints
changed
to
their
Carol
name.
They
Massar.
changed their name to SLB.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a whole thing, so it doesn't show up on the chart.
I
'cause
heard
it's-
you saying this earlier, and then I went to the Bloomberg, and I'm like, it still says Schlumberger. No, just
No,
kidding.
it's SLB. They're changing it to be more of like a digital oil company, basically, instead of just like a straight up driller that
What's
you would think of
digital
as
oil?
Schlumberger.
Yeah.
Isn't that just Bitcoin?
Like, no, it's AI. It's like how they're going to use AI and digital to help their clients at the end of the day,
Isn't it still-
rather than here's oil out of the ground.
Isn't it still, though, in
Yes.
oil services?
It's, you know, it's
No,
the
no,
same.
Carol.
It's just a restructuring.
It's a technical
Okay, it's a technical SLB.
SLB. All right, take it away, Tim.
Okay. I want to start with ADRs of Novo Nordisk. They closed lower by 5.3% today. Actually, the stock closed lower by 4.3% in Denmark. We found out early today that Ozempic and Wegovy are becoming part of the latest drugs to be targeted under U.S. legislation, specifically under Medicare Part D, and they were selected for price negotiation. JP Morgan estimates that already assume 50% net price cut for Ozempic. Concerns from shareholders certainly there. ADRs of Novo Nordisk have fallen more than 45% since reaching that record high last June. Concerns about pricing, increasing competition, hurt by too much supply. We've talked about this. In fact, today, LVMH has regained the title of Europe's most valuable stock after the latest decline from Novo Nordisk. JB Hunt shares finished the day down by 7.4%. The company's fourth quarter earnings trailed expectations. They warned about first quarter results as well as cost pressures in 2025. We also saw pressure on shares of some of the trucking peers. And this is a special one for Romaine. Crocs, down 2.6%. I know it's your
Why?
shoe of choice. There was a downgrade. Williams Trading downgraded the shoe company to hold from buy, saying that the outlook for Crocs and Hey Dude, owned by Crocs as well, has dimmed since that December. Fashion Footwear Association of New York. They've done these proprietary channel checks. They say retailers in the U.S. are likely at best planning the Crocs 2025 business.
This is concerning,
flat.
Tim, because as you know, I just sort of started down the road of ugly shoes. I got Birkenstocks last year. My son got me Uggs for Christmas this year. I was ready to make the transition to Crocs. Am I too late?
You might be too
You're
late.
the top, man. This is...
Hoka should be on your list as well.
Yeah, but if you got Uggs, like now it's a sell. He's a contrarian indicator, basically, at the end of the day. All right, I'm going to the bond market here, guys.
Wait, did he buy the platform Uggs, Alex? Did he?
I don't know.
go
His
there?
son bought them, so they probably are actually cool Uggs. But
Can I just tell you,
Renee won't
they are kind of comfortable.
I want
They're comfortable and they're warm and fuzzy, and you're gonna like it next week when it's 4 degrees. All right, let's go to the bond market, guys. You saw a little bit of selling in the front end, not that much happening in the long end. I mean, the calls though, guys, we're hearing it. Nomura, T. Rowe Price talking now at 6% on the 10-year. It's just a matter of how fast we get higher, basically.
All right, guys, let's get to some of the stories that caught our attention, some fun ones. This has to do with the Home Alone house in Chicago. We've all seen the movie. We all love the house. It's such a great little movie. Sold for $5.5 million. And, Tim, that was above its asking price.
Yeah, I'm just looking up the weather in Winnetka, Illinois. It's actually not that cold yet. It's going to be cold there. 48 degrees right now. $5.5 million, 671 Lincoln Avenue. It's a North Shore suburb, the affluent suburb. It went in under contract within a week of its listing. The owners had sought $5.2 million. They got multiple offers up the price.
Of course they would. It's
course they
Winnetka.
would.
It's Winnetka, by the way.
That's what I said, Winnetka.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting though too. I mean, we talk about the value. I mean, do you think people bought it because of the value of it being used in the movie, or is it just a great home?
Kevin McAllister is not included with the home.
Do you have, and what happens? Do you have to like clean up all the booby traps and stuff before you can move in?
Comes with the booby traps.
I mean, I just don't know how that works.
I think Macaulay Culkin even joked about potentially buying it last year in the New York Times.
Yeah. Can I just say, though, too, I mean, as a Chicago native, there's some great houses that have been featured in movies, largely because of John Hughes and all the movies that he filmed out in the northern suburbs there. So, and a few of them aren't actually that expensive here, probably cheaper than a New York City apartment.
Would a Christmas vacation home be included in that?
Yeah, why not?
Are you thinking about this? You're looking for a house.
I know. Look, at Tim's interested. You have plans to move? Have you talked to your family about this?
Does the wife know?
You, Romaine, you.
That gets at this idea, though, too. I mean, we talk about, kind of these trophy properties and why people would buy them. I think our story also pointed out you got, Michael Jordan's estate has sat on the market for forever before it finally sold because it was so unique. It was so unique to Michael Jordan himself. I think the Home Alone house was just a little bit more of a plain, regular house that just happened to have a star in a movie.
Which is the whole point, I think, of the house. Like, hey, it's your regular house, but it was also used in this event.
You still got to deal with the looky-loos, right? Who are going to come by and peer into the windows.
Speaking of which, did you hear about that guy who owns the brownstone in New York that was used in Sex and the City?
Yeah.
And everyone's sitting on his stoop?
They got permission, a rare piece of permission to actually put up some fencing there. Because everybody hangs out on the stoop all the time.
Stop doing that, people.
I'm sorry
I
about
love to do that. I'm just going to put that out there.